Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Steve Duvall, and this is news on Sedona.biz. This morning, we're fortunate enough to have the Honorable Mayor Adams, Mayor of Sedona. We have a few items. We have, I think, more items than we're going to be able to talk about this morning. We've got a list that would probably take us hours. So I think we'd probably lose their attention if we went a couple hours on that. So
we may lose them in 10 minutes.
Yeah, so I'll shut up and let's get to it.
Okay.
You know what I'd first thing I'd like to talk about, Rob, is the status of the community plan update. Where are we with that and what's going on?
The Planning and Zoning Commission has approved the community plan. The City Council has approved the community plan unanimously, I might say, both of them. And now staff and myself are going out and making presentations to various groups in Sedona, just to give them an overview of what the community plan is and encouraging citizens to vote. Again, as you mentioned, the election will be on March 11th, and I just want to encourage all citizens to get out and vote on this community plan. It's been a very long process, and I think that we have a community plan that is setting a new level for community plans in the state.
So the community plan is more of a long-term vision of what the people and the citizens of the community would like to see. It's not law, it's not zoning, it's not mandatory. This is just kind of a visioning process. Do I get that?
It's really more of a guide for council and staff, and it's a guide that tells us what the vision and the will of the people of Sedona is. So what I'm hoping is that if it is approved, and I certainly hope that it is, that City Council will start a process where we develop a strategic plan. And I was talking to a group yesterday, and it was a very good question. Where's the money coming from? You know, there's a lot of things in the community plan that are very costly. Well, I think that what it's going to be for the challenge for the City Council is to take a look at the visions of the community, prioritize those, and over a 10-year period, and then look at how we might be able to fund them. Now, I would say that a majority of the funding and the opportunities for implementing most of the visions would really be in public-private partnerships. So I just want to tell the citizens that this isn't going to be about just the city paying for everything. We're going to be looking for opportunities, grant opportunities, public-private partnerships, that type of thing.
So the actual physical implementation of the plan is kind of a coordinated effort between the citizens, property owners, landowners, business owners, and the community.
Yeah, and again, it's a guide. Mm-hmm. You know, whether or not we're going to get all of those things in the community plan implemented over the next 10 years, I seriously doubt it. But we really need to, again, look at things that rise to the top in terms of priorities for the community and look at how we can implement that. For me, I think that the opportunity here is for future capital projects to be unpoliticized. Typically what I've seen in the last 5 city councils that I've served with is, you know, city council people come in with their own projects, their own agendas, and it becomes a political issue. And so now we have the will of the people that's been expressed, and I think through a strategic plan, future capital projects would be based on what the community says, not on what individual council members say.
Sedona is unique in so many ways, and even in the community plan. Many times a community is built, it grows from the bottom up, and you have the ability to plan and implement a lot of the things. Sedona was already here when we became a city, so a lot of things needed to be more consistent, more homogenized, so that the community plan would work. So it's kind of a challenge, I would think, that we're already starting with a citizen that's there. The primary things, of course, are the roads, 89A, 179. How do you work with all of that? That's a big challenge.
Well, as you say, a lot of things were already here when Sedona became a city. And we were handed those things and have had to deal with that. And probably the biggest thing that we've had to deal with is the development of our sewer system. So, you know, actually the city or this area was mandated to put in a sewer infrastructure because of the protected status of the Oak Creek waterway. And so we started out right off the bat taking on a huge amount of debt. As a matter of fact, probably 2/3 of our debt right now is from the cost of the sewer infrastructure. So, you know, that because of that and the stormwater issues that we've had here and the road issues and all of the other infrastructure issues that we've had here in Sedona, you know, those take precedence in the capital money that we have. And so some people get a little frustrated, including myself, in terms of, well, you know, I'd like to build more parks, I'd like to, you know, do those kinds of things, but first things first. We have to take care of our infrastructure, and that's where the focus of the money is.
So speaking of infrastructure, where are we in all the stormwater construction that's going on, especially up in Andante and that area up there?
Well, we're on target with our plan. You know, again, we're finishing up the Andante area this year, and our focus has turned also to the Tlaquepaque area. And so we have formed a partnership with the owners of Tlaquepaque as well as Diamond Resorts in creating a channel, a drainage channel over there, or improving that drainage channel so that we can mitigate the flood impacts. And so we've come to agreements on that, and that is moving forward. We should be starting to develop that infrastructure in the near future.
That's similar to the community plan. We already have the city. It's already built. Drainage was there when we became a city, but it's now inadequate. So now we're having to go back and upgrade and make the water flow a little better.
Well, I don't know if we're even upgrading. We're actually doing drainage projects. You know, essentially what we had is a bunch of washes and ditches and stuff here in Sedona, and we're trying to mitigate flooding impacts. I just want to make sure that the viewers understand that even though we're doing these projects, and we still probably have $20 or $30 million worth of projects left in our plan, it's not going to stop flooding. Right. You know, if you get a big event here, a 100-year event, we're still going to have some flooding. What we're hoping to do is mitigate it.
Yeah. I was down at Tlaquepaque when they had the big flood down there a few years ago, and more water than there was room. I mean, that's what's happened.
Yeah, and you know, those are the projects that have risen to the top. Those areas where property and even life has been threatened is where we're focusing our projects right now. Right. And then we'll move into other areas after that.
I had someone in the city tell me years ago that, well, the problem is pretty straightforward. It was all open land and the water could percolate down into the soil, and that took care of all the excess water. And we've just built too much and put too much pavement down there. And
well, I don't agree with that, quite frankly. Okay. First of all, we get very little percolation, if any. Okay. This probably doesn't sound very mayoral, but I kind of describe Sedona as a big rock with about 4 inches of dust on top of it. And you know, water does not percolate into rock very well. Right. So it's not an issue about percolation. It's an issue about directing drainage. Mm-hmm. When we became a city, whenever we issue a building permit, one of the requirements in that permit is that whatever structure is built on the building envelope can't be shedding any more water than it was originally in its natural form. So in order to mitigate that, you know, we require catchment basins and different things like that. You know, more highways, more that infrastructure, that kind of thing. Actually, if you look at the highways, we're directing stormwater into stormwater catchments, and so I don't think that that's the problem. Okay. It's really about what we inherited in the first place.
So it's not that we've paved paradise?
Well, you know, I mean, some neighborhoods have been built in high-risk areas. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, when you're located right next to a major wash, you know, reason would tell you that sometimes that wash is going to overflow, and that's what happens.
Yeah. I went through the '93 flood. That was fun along Oak Creek.
Yep.
I had this little gingerbread house down there along the creek, and water did go a little out of the banks.
Well, stormwater management is a very high priority for the city council.
Yeah.
We have directed more money to that to accelerate that program. We understand that our primary purpose is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens above all else. There is some criticism about, some of the things that council has done and directed money toward. For example, we're in escrow to purchase the property over on Brewer Road where the former ranger station was.
Okay.
And people are saying, well, why are you spending money on another park when you should be directing it toward stormwater management or health, safety, and welfare issues? The answer is that there is money in the city that is there specifically for particular purposes, like park acquisition, land acquisition, things like that. That money cannot be used for anything else by law. And so, as much as we would like to direct it toward stormwater management or repair roads or whatever, that money comes through a fund, whatever funding process that might be. It may be from the state, it may be from the county, it may be from some other source, but that money is directed into different pots, and those pots are for specific purposes.
Right. Speaking of the property down there on Brewer Road, what's the status on that now, Rob?
We are in escrow on the property, and we're in the process of doing our due diligence. And we're doing an extensive due diligence process. They had fueling stations there. They had different, there are issues. Some of the buildings were built, and contain lead-based paint and other things that we need to make sure that we understand fully what we're purchasing before we close that deal.
Not just buying a bunch of funky old buildings, huh? There's
Right.
lots more to it than that.
It's a beautiful piece of property. This has been long talked about in the community about
The heart of Sedona.
Heart of
I remember
Sedona,
that. Yeah.
a community gathering place. The city council fully agrees that, one of the things that we would like to accomplish is to fulfill that dream of our community. And this was an opportunity to buy a special piece of property. And so, we just want to make sure that that property is clear of any kind of encumbrances or any kind of environmental issues or anything like that before we close the deal.
No boo-boos to find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll start a public process and start talking about, what does the community see as a community center there? What does that look like to you?
Nice.
And that'll be fun.
Very nice. Yeah. That would be a nice. Hopefully, bring everybody together, and not have everybody.
Yeah, and another,
together.
I like to address criticisms, publicly. One of the criticisms has been we don't have the money to, the money was there to buy the land, we couldn't use it for anything else, but we don't have the money to build the infrastructure and maintain it. That's a fair criticism, but I think that there are public-private opportunities there, again, where other organizations, for example, the Sedona Art Center is interested in partnering with the city on it. The people that are looking at building a museum are interested in participating in that. So we haven't entered into any discussions with those people until we get the property closed. We want to make sure that we own it. And then we want to make sure that everybody has an equal opportunity to step up and present something to the city.
Perfect. So one other issue maybe you touch on, smart meters. What's happening? Anything new with the city?
Yeah, kind of heads up to the community on smart meters. As you know, the city wrote a letter asking the Corporation Commission to allow the city of Sedona to opt out. The Corporation Commission makes that decision. We don't have we don't have the legal authority to say that we're going to opt out. The Corporation Commission overrides our authority there. So in response to that, the Corporation Commission said, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll do a study to study the impact, the health impacts, if any, of smart meters. Well, they started that study, but they are going to start installing smart meters in Sedona probably in March or April. I mean, this is coming up. They've already said that. And I just had a conversation with the city manager yesterday. I said, how in the heck can they move forward with installing smart meters before concluding this study?
Good
And
question.
that's just what they're doing. And so we need to ask that question. I think it's very irresponsible and very disrespectful of the city's desire. Just as a heads up to the community, you can ask to opt out, and you know, the APS should allow you to opt out. At this point, we don't know if there's going to be a charge or not, but I would assume there is an opt-out fee, and they were talking originally about an additional fee tacked on to your bill every month thereafter, on top of the original opt-out fee, which I think is very unfair as well. So I'm very discouraged about what's going on there.
I don't understand. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I just, it's sort of like GMO labeling it. Why are they forcing it? If there's nothing wrong with it, why are they protecting it? It just, at face value, it makes you wonder, well, what is it that's so important that they must do this? People don't want it. It's not been proven, not been disproved, that there is an effect on our health.
Right. And until my stand is, and I believe it's the stand of the city council, that, you know, we were elected to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the community. And if there's a reasonable question in our mind, a reasonable doubt about the health impacts, then, you know, it's our duty to say no. You know, the frustrating thing is that in our own community, we can't make that decision.
Yeah, that is sad.
That's sad.
Yeah. There seems to be ample evidence that that it does have some kind of an impact on us. If there's even a little ink of a question, then stop.
Well, you know, there are people on both sides that have credentials that are saying completely opposite things.
Yeah.
But I think that when you read through all of that, you know, the bottom line is that we don't know. And so again, because of that not knowing, then we need to err on the side of caution as government officials. But again, we don't have the authority to override the Corporation Commission.
Not good. So I have a question. Where's Warren Woodward? We need Warren to speak up. He's kind of dropped off the radar a little bit.
I'm kind of surprised there hasn't been more of an outcry locally. I think that maybe a lot of people don't know that, you know, they thought that the city asked to opt out. They thought that we're done. And the fact of the matter is that's not the case.
Yeah. I invited Warren to come back on and just give us an update on what's happening. Haven't heard from him yet. It's been a week.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I don't know. I haven't seen or heard of Warren for a while.
Yeah. Anything else, Rob, that you'd like to hit on here? Mention?
No, I'm just on my way down to Phoenix. I'm going to the Greater Arizona Mayors Association, which is comprised of 15 mayors in rural Arizona. There's going to be elections tonight. I have been nominated to be the chair of that organization, which I'm looking forward to.
Congratulations for the nomination. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll see after the election, but they, you know, that organization is created specifically to talk about rural Arizona issues. I'm also on the executive board of the League of Cities and Towns, and that's comprised of all the mayors in Arizona. The problem with that organization is that, and the frustration, I guess I would say, is that they don't want to talk about rural Arizona issues, particularly water, when the organization is dominated by mayors in Metro Phoenix, Tucson, and they're more assured of their water quantities than rural Arizona is. And so, you know, the rural group is very important to have a voice down at the state legislature. We're going to be meeting with our legislators this evening of I think 3 different districts, and we're going to be talking to them about the legislative session that's going on right now. And I suspect I'll be spending a fair amount of time down at the legislature making our case on whatever legislation happens to be going forward.
Yeah. Well, they say whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting.
Yep.
It seems to be the way it is here in Arizona.
And I gladly take on that fight.
So, looking into my crystal ball, looking in your crystal ball, what does the future hold for Mr. Rob Adams?
Future regarding what?
You're mayor now for another year?
About another 11 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Haven't made a final decision. Quite frankly, I've been thinking about this. I don't want to drag this out. When I want to make a decision early, I'm in or I'm out. That will give people an opportunity to make a decision whether they want to run for mayor or not. And, you know, I would like to gracefully bow out if that's what I choose to do. And, you know, support, you know, a change. So we'll see. I'll let you know.
I look forward to that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming in today. Really appreciate that. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Really appreciate your tuning in to Sedona.biz. And until next time, see you then.